All right, in this lesson, we're going to talk about linear inequalities, but with two variables. All right, let's go through an example. We want to show the solutions to y greater than x plus 2. Now, when we say two variables, notice that x is one variable here, right? We've got two variables, x and y. That's why we call it two variables. Now, to solve this, to show the solution for this inequality, the very first thing you have to do, you have to treat this inequality like an equation and treat it like a linear function. That means a line. Remember mx plus b? That looks like this is actually y equals to mx plus b, which is a linear function. So we're going to graph that. So let's graph it quickly, and I know that you can do this. We're going to use the y-intercept. 2 is y-intercept, right? Y-intercept, the slope is 1 in front of the x, so go ahead and do that. So I'm going to use, so that would be 2. I'm going to use each one of these ones as 1, 2 squares, and the next one will be there, 2. All right, so I'm using the slope up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and you can see that this is the graph. All right, so let's go ahead and graph the line. Okay, so here's the line, right? So the coordinates, if you want to put the coordinates down, you can. So we have in here 0, 2, your y-intercept. You have, in this case, so that's the graph of y equals x plus 2. It's a positive slope, and that's what that is. Now, we have to incorporate the last piece is we have to watch for the sign right here. This is this sign right here. So y is greater than x plus 2. We want this greater than. The very first thing is that this line cannot be a solid line because points on this line are not part of the solution, because this is strictly a non-equal inequality. That means the equal sign is not part of the inequality, it's greater than. So we need to make this a dotted line. So that's the first thing we got to do. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, here it is. So this is the dotted line. So make a note that is a dotted line, not a solid line. All right, the next thing is that you need to do the test. So it says test the coordinates. So a couple of coordinates, you can do 3, but actually, to be honest, 1 coordinate will do. So, and I always choose the simplest point coordinate that I can find, and I'm going to choose the origin, 0, 0. So what does that mean? I'm going to take the 0, 0, plug it back into the original inequality, which is right here, and then let's see if it works. Okay, and if it's true, this inequality becomes true. So here it is. 0, is that greater than equal to 0 plus 2? Is that true? Is 0 greater than 2? What I'm doing is that I'm just plugging that over here into the inequality. Is this true? No, it is not true. That means the solution to this should be the other side of the line, and I don't even have to test that anymore. I know that it will be, and here it is. Now, if you're in doubt, you choose a value in there and plug it in, and then you can find out. So that's okay. Let's do an example here. So let's use a coordinate that is on this region. By the way, notice that there are so many coordinates. So that point works, this point works, this point works, that point works. That's why we're doing shaded. This shaded region, there are billions, trillions, infinitely many coordinates that work for this specific inequality. So choose a coordinate, plug it in there, and let's see what happens. How about the coordinate -5, 0? Will that work? Plug it in there. So is 0, so here it is 0, so we're testing this now, greater than -5 plus 2. Remember, -5, -5 is for x, 0 is for y. So is 0 greater than -3? Yes, it is. Therefore, that's how you show your solution. And this is it. just shaded area, however you want to shade it. Some people shade it the other way, I shade it this way, whatever you like. Okay, that's it. So here's another example. So let's go ahead and solve this equation. First, you treat it just like an equation. That becomes a linear function. Notice that the format is not y equal to mx plus b, so you have to force that into it. So rewrite this as mx plus b, and you have to do some algebraic manipulation to do that, which I'm sure you can. All right, so here it is, and then you have to basically make it for your it becomes a little bit easier to graph. That's what you want to do. You want to change this format to that format. So let's go ahead and do that and come back. So isolate y and set it as equal to mx plus b. So when you manipulate the equation and solve for y, you will end up getting this equation right here. That becomes the final equation, which is equivalent equation to the 2y minus x plus 4 equal to 0. Great. Now you're going to graph this. Okay, simple as that. You know the y-intercept. That's your y-intercept. Okay, that's your b right there. That's your b. And the slope is right here. That's the slope. That's your m. Okay, so go ahead and graph this and come back. All right, so when you graph this equation, this linear function, you're going to get a graph just like that. Okay, it's positive slope, y-intercept -2, and then up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. I use 4 squares for 1 unit on this diagram. All right, now test point. Remember the 0, 0. This is the original. Sorry, yeah, I guess you can call it that. But the origin is always the easiest point to check. So let's test that, and you don't always have to write it down. So we're going to check that in the original. So this is where we're going to put it. Okay, so we're going to test that in there. So here it is 2 times 0 minus 0 plus 4. Is that less than equal to 0? Okay, now remember, this is now less than equal to. That means, so this less than equal to, that means it is a solid line. So make a note. Line has to be a solid line, not dotted line, solid line. Okay, and now you test, do the math. Is 0 minus 0 plus 4 less than equal to 0? Is 4 less than equal to 0? No, 4 is not less than equal to 0. So what does that mean? That means you have to shade the other side. So when that side doesn't work, when you test it, you shade the other side, and then you randomly choose another point anywhere, and then you plug it in, and then you find out what that is. Okay, and make sure that it will work. Now, as an example, I'm not going to do it, but why not you try negative, let's do 5 comma -3. You plug it in there, the chances are 100% it will work. There's no chances, but that's what it will be. Okay, that's it. Have a good day. Practice, practice, practice.